Gianluca Vialli was born on July 9, 1964, in Cremona, in northern Italy. The city, quiet, marked by the slow passage of days and Lombard tradition, did not anticipate that one of its sons would become a universal name in world football. For those who knew him in his childhood, Gianluca was a restless, curious boy, with an energy that overflowed every corner of the house and the streets of his neighborhood. From a very young age, his fascination with football was evident. It was not just a game, it was a silent obsession. He spent hours with a worn-out ball in courtyards, squares, and cobbled streets. Every strike of the ball was an attempt at perfection, a constant rehearsal of skills he did not yet know would be decisive. The passion for football ran through his blood and was reflected in every gesture, every look, every step he took while chasing the ball. His family did not come from a privileged background, but it did provide structure and discipline. His father, a hardworking and firm man, taught Gianluca the importance of effort, perseverance, and respect for others, while his mother was his refuge, someone who recognized her son's intensity and encouraged him to dream. That combination of discipline and encouragement allowed him to grow with an uncommon balance. He knew that talent was important, but that without work and humility nothing could be sustained. At school, Vialli did not stand out for brilliant grades, but for his determination. That determination carried over into football, where he quickly became an informal leader among his peers. His physique was beginning to assert itself: height, agility, endurance. But his most notable quality was his intelligence in reading the game, an ability that allowed him to anticipate opponents' movements and find spaces where others did not see them. That intuition, rare in a child of his age, would allow him years later to stand out even against professional defenders. At the age of 10, he had already joined the youth divisions of Cremonese, a modest club but one with tradition in the region. There he began to receive structured training and to learn tactical rules beyond instinct. However, his style was not rigid. He maintained the spark of creativity that set him apart from his peers. While other children sought the safety of predictable movements, Vialli experimented with dribbles, combinations, and audacious shots. His mentor at the time, a local coach, used to say that Gianluca did not only play with his feet, but with his head and his heart. His adolescence passed between training sessions, matches, and silent dreams of greatness. The pressure was not external. No one demanded that he become a star, but he imposed a high standard on himself. Every goal in youth categories was a challenge with himself, a demonstration that he could surpass his own limits. At that age, he was already beginning to stand out in regional tournaments, and although his name had not yet crossed the boundaries of Cremona, in local circles there was talk of a young man with exceptional talent and determination. At the same time, Vialli cultivated friendships that humanized him. He was not an arrogant or isolated child. He understood that competitiveness could not erase camaraderie. That mix of ambition and sociability made him well-liked among teammates and coaches, who highlighted his emotional maturity and leadership ability. From that stage emerged the first signs of his charisma, a trait that would later be essential both on and off the field. Between the ages of 15 and 17, Gianluca faced his first serious challenges: matches against more experienced opponents, selection trials, and physical demands that could discourage anyone. For him, every obstacle was an opportunity to prove that he was ready. His coaches recalled that even when he made mistakes, he analyzed them, learned, and came back stronger. That early resilience would be a constant throughout his career. In parallel with his football development, Vialli also began to understand the emotional and social dimension of sport. He learned to manage pressure, expectation, and frustration. His ability to maintain concentration and motivation in the face of adversity was surprising for someone so young. It was not just natural talent, but an inner discipline that consolidated his future. The culmination of this early stage came with his move to the Sampdoria Academy at the age of 18. This move represented the step from local promise to national projection. Although he was still far from international fame, that change marked the beginning of his professional story. Arriving at Sampdoria meant integrating into a more demanding environment, where competition was intense and visibility was beginning to be global. For Vialli, it was a challenge he accepted with the same calm, intelligence, and determination he had shown since childhood. Before making his professional debut, Gianluca Vialli already displayed characteristics that would define him throughout his life. Character, tactical intelligence, work ethic, resilience, and a silent but effective leadership. His childhood and adolescence in Cremona and the first stage at Sampdoria prepared him to face the challenges of professional football, where pressure, fame, and demands would be infinitely greater. Every training session, every match, and every sacrifice constituted the foundation of what would later become an extraordinary career, marked by achievements, records, and international admiration. This phase of Vialli's life shows us a principle that is repeated in many of the greats. Greatness does not arise from chance, but from constant work, emotional intelligence, and discipline, combined with innate talent. Without these elements, the transition from a passionate child in Cremona to a world idol would never have been possible. His story before fame is a testament to the power of effort, perseverance, and long-term vision, elements that cemented the career of one of the most charismatic and complete forwards that Italy and the world would remember for decades. When Gianluca Vialli reached the first team of Sampdoria, Italy was undergoing a full footballing transformation. The big clubs dominated the scene, but there was a space where tactical intelligence and creativity could make the difference. For Vialli, who had spent years perfecting his game in youth divisions, this was the moment to prove that his talent and discipline were not the product of chance, but of inflexible consistency. Vialli's Serie A debut took place in 1982, at the age of 18, in a context that combined expectation and pressure. Sampdoria, a club with a modest history compared to giants like Juventus, Inter, or Milan, sought to establish itself as a protagonist in the Italian elite. The arrival of a promising young forward was viewed with interest, but also with skepticism. Many doubted that such a young player could sustain the intensity of the top flight. Vialli, however, was not just any boy. From an early age, he had learned that perseverance and reading the game could overcome brute strength and fleeting fame. In his first seasons, his performance was progressive. He did not enter Serie A to shine immediately, but to learn, adapt, and understand the demands of a higher level. His technique was refined, impeccable control, powerful shooting, and advanced vision of the game for his age. But what truly distinguished him was his ability to move in tight spaces, interpret defenders' movements, and create opportunities both for himself and for his teammates. That combination of talent and brain, already seen in his youth stage, became increasingly evident before a wider audience. The Sampdoria environment was fundamental to his development. The club had a group of coaches who understood the value of comprehensive training. They did not only teach tactics, but also professional ethics, pressure management, and emotional control. Vialli absorbed these lessons quickly. His maturity off the field was proportional to his growth on it. He soon became a player who not only unbalanced matches with goals, but also offered tactical coherence and silent leadership. The first goals were crucial moments in his career. Each strike consolidated his confidence and began to build the reputation of an intelligent, efficient, and reliable forward. He was not a striker who sought to show off with spectacular gestures. Every action had a purpose. Every shot was calculated. That efficiency allowed him to earn a starting place and, with it, the respect of veterans and rivals alike. The Italian press began to notice his name, but still cautiously. They knew that a young player could have good moments, but consistency was the real challenge. As Vialli settled in, a crucial aspect of his character also developed: early leadership ability. Although he was not yet captain or the main star, his teammates considered him a reference within the group. His professional behavior, discipline in training, and dedication to game analysis gave him natural authority. That early emotional maturity would be key in the following years, when he would have to assume greater responsibilities both on the field and in his international career. His first major challenge came with European tournaments. Sampdoria, thanks to the evolution of its squad and the incorporation of talents like Vialli, began to compete in the UEFA Cup and the Champions Cup. For a young player, facing international opponents represented a trial by fire. Different styles, more physical defenders, and complex tactical demands. Vialli responded not only with goals, but with an understanding of the game that exceeded his age. His ability to adapt to different strategies and understand opposing teams' patterns consolidated him as an intellectually complete forward. During this stage, Vialli also faced injuries and difficult moments, like any young player on the rise. Each obstacle was an opportunity to demonstrate resilience. His discipline in recovery, attention to detail, and consistency in training were determining factors in maintaining sustained growth. This combination of talent, tactical intelligence, and mental strength was beginning to turn him into a reliable player, capable of performing in the most demanding scenarios. On a personal level, the early years of his professional career were also marked by learning off the field. Emerging fame, media exposure, and the pressure of being considered a promise of Italy did not make him lose balance. Maintaining humility, valuing relationships with teammates, and understanding that every success was the result of collective effort were principles that Vialli internalized early on. That maturity distinguished him from other young players who were swept away by premature celebrity. The impact of these formative years was not limited to the club. In 1982, Vialli received his first call-up to the Italy under-21 national team, where he could measure himself against talents from all over Europe. His performance confirmed what many already suspected. He was not only an effective forward, but a player capable of adapting to different systems and understanding international dynamics. Early international experience allowed him to develop a broader vision of football and prepare his transition to higher competitions, where every decision could mark the difference between victory and defeat. This stage of his career, spanning from his Serie A debut to his first international matches, laid the foundations for what would be a legendary career. Gianluca Vialli did not only begin to build a record of goals and assists. He consolidated a style that combined intelligence, discipline, and natural talent. Every step he took in these early years reflected the philosophy that would accompany him throughout his life. Greatness is achieved with consistency, work, leadership, and a deep love for the game. With this initial phase, Vialli transformed from a youth promise into a reliable and feared professional, ready to face the challenges of high competition, European tournaments, and the pressure of becoming one of the most complete forwards of his generation. This foundation was essential for him to reach, in the following years, the peak of his footballing career, both in Italy and on the international stage, where his name would become synonymous with quality, character, and victory. By the late 1980s, Gianluca Vialli was no longer a young Sampdoria prospect. He had become one of the most outstanding emerging figures in Italian and European football. The consistency of his performances, the intelligence of his game, and his ability to decide matches placed him at a level that only a few reach at that age. Coaches described him as a complete player, physically strong, tactically astute, technically impeccable, and with a natural goal-scoring instinct. He was a forward who understood pressure, space, and time better than most of his contemporaries. During these years, Sampdoria consolidated itself as a competitive team in Italy thanks, to a large extent, to Vialli's impact. The club went from being a modest team to becoming a constant contender for the Scudetto, thanks to the combination of youth, talent, and the strategy of its coach. Vialli did not only contribute goals. He led by example, demonstrating discipline, commitment, and professional ethics. His presence on the field elevated his teammates, generated confidence, and gave rivals reasons to fear. The period of glory began to take shape with the first titles. In 1985, Sampdoria won the Coppa Italia, a triumph that marked the beginning of a golden era for the club and the consolidation of Vialli as a key figure. Each of his goals, each decisive play, each precise pass showed the tactical maturity of a player who understood not only how to finish, but when and where to position himself and how to connect with his teammates in an organic way. As Sampdoria made a name for itself in Serie A and in European competitions, Vialli also began to stand out at the international level. His debut with the senior Italian national team in 1985 allowed him to measure his ability against the best players on the continent. In the national team, Vialli showed that he could adapt to different systems, respond to media pressure, and maintain consistent performance, demonstrating that his talent did not depend on a specific environment, but on his own intelligence and discipline. The peak of his Sampdoria career came with the arrival of Roberto Mancini, his inseparable attacking partner. Together, they formed one of the most feared partnerships in Italian football. The synchronicity between them was almost instinctive. They understood each other without speaking, complemented each other perfectly, and destabilized defenses with a combination of speed, vision, and surgical precision. That connection allowed them to win titles and compete at the European level, projecting Sampdoria to a level few had imagined decades earlier. In 1989, Vialli and Sampdoria reached a historic milestone by playing the final of the UEFA Cup. Although the result did not favor the Italian team, Vialli's performance was an example of maturity, technique, and leadership in high-level matches. His ability to face experienced defenders and maintain calm in decisive moments caught the attention of bigger clubs and the international press. By then, his name was already circulating among Europe's elite teams, and his reputation as a complete forward was firmly established. The following years further consolidated his legend. Sampdoria won the Coppa Italia on several occasions, and finally, in 1990-91, the team captured its first Scudetto in history, a historic achievement that elevated Vialli and Mancini to the status of absolute idols in Genoa. Every match of that season showed Vialli's versatility. He could play as a central striker, drift wide, assist, head the ball, create spaces, and lead the team with silent authority. His role went beyond goals. He was a strategist on the field, a creator of opportunities, and an example of professionalism for everyone around him. Alongside his league successes, Vialli also shone in European competitions. Sampdoria reached the 1992 European Cup final, where they faced Barcelona in a historic clash. Although the final ended in defeat, Vialli's performance was brilliant. His ability to challenge resolute defenses, create goal-scoring chances, and remain calm under pressure reaffirmed his status as one of the most complete forwards on the continent. That tournament showed the world that Gianluca Vialli was not just an outstanding Italian player, but a top-level European figure, capable of making the difference in any setting. In addition to his collective performances, Vialli also stood out for his personality and professionalism inside the dressing room. His character, a combination of humility and natural leadership, made him a reference for young players and veterans alike. He knew how to motivate, listen, and guide without resorting to imposed authority, which generated genuine respect. That emotional maturity and his ability to positively influence the group were crucial factors in Sampdoria's achievements during his prime. The culmination of this stage came with the 1992 European Cup, an achievement that, although it ultimately slipped away due to final details, consolidated Vialli as one of the most complete and admired forwards in world football. For the first time, his career ceased to be a promise and became an international reference, recognized for his decision-making ability, vision of the game, leadership, and consistency in the most demanding scenarios. During this period, Vialli also began to receive offers from bigger clubs and foreign leagues. His talent was no longer limited to Serie A. His name appeared in conversations about transfers to England and Spain, and his reputation spread throughout Europe. His prime as a footballer represented not only the consolidation of a local idol, but the transformation of a meticulous professional into a global star. This golden stage of Gianluca Vialli combines everything that makes a player great: innate talent, constant work, tactical intelligence, leadership, and the ability to perform under pressure. Each match, each goal, and each decision on the field built the path toward the next phase of his career: the move to Juventus and the definitive expansion of his international legacy, where he would begin to write the most remembered part of his footballing story. After an impressive footballing career, in which Gianluca Vialli shone with Sampdoria and Juventus, his professional life seemed headed toward a quiet retirement. However, his passion for football and his natural curiosity pushed him toward a new facet: coaching. For many, the transition from star to manager is dangerous territory. Talent on the field does not guarantee wisdom on the bench. But Vialli did not limit himself to improvisation. He approached this challenge with the same discipline, intelligence, and professionalism that defined his playing career. His first experience as a coach came at Chelsea FC in England, a club in the midst of transformation and with aspirations to establish itself in the European elite. Initially, Vialli arrived as a player-manager, a rare role in modern football, which allowed him to remain on the field while beginning to experiment with tactics, squad management, and leadership from the bench. This dual function was demanding. It required balance between focus on the game, authority over the team, and the ability to make strategic decisions in real time. Vialli showed a surprising ability to adapt. England presented a style of football very different from the Italian one, more physical, direct, and fast-paced. Many foreign coaches failed when trying to impose continental methods without considering these differences. Vialli, on the other hand, learned, observed, and adjusted. He introduced advanced tactical concepts, enhancing the combination of individual talent with collective organization, and found a balance between discipline and creative freedom for his players. During his tenure as Chelsea manager, Vialli achieved notable results. He won the FA Cup in 1997, a title that meant much more than a trophy. It was confirmation that he could successfully lead a team from the bench. A year later, he won the English League Cup, and in 1998, he reached a historic milestone. He won the UEFA Cup, becoming one of the first Italian coaches to triumph in European competitions outside Italy. These achievements consolidated his international reputation not only as a former star player, but as a coach capable of thinking and executing winning strategies. Vialli's approach as a coach reflected his philosophy as a player: discipline, intelligence, creativity, and emotional leadership. He never sought media protagonism. His authority came from results, coherence, and respect earned among players. He knew how to balance pressure with positive motivation, and his close yet firm style created a strong dressing room. His leadership was based on mutual trust and the ability to inspire performance without resorting to authoritarian imposition. After his time in England, Vialli returned to Italy, where he assumed roles as sporting advisor, technical collaborator, and institutional figure at clubs such as Sampdoria, trying to transmit his experience and philosophy to the next generation. Although he did not always achieve the spectacular results he had obtained at Chelsea, his time in Italian clubs left important lessons. He insisted on the importance of tactical preparation, mental concentration, and professional ethics as the foundation of any success. His reputation as a mentor and developer grew, and his influence began to transcend the strictly sporting sphere. Off the field, Vialli also developed a notable presence in the media and society. He became a commentator, speaker, and consultant, sharing his vision of football with an international audience. His approach was always analytical, reflective, and human. He spoke not only about goals and tactics, but about leadership, resilience, and values that transcend sport. His experience as a player and coach gave him authority, but his humility and ability to convey complex concepts in a simple way made him admired by young and old alike. In the years that followed, Vialli also faced personal challenges, especially related to health and life outside the stadiums. These moments revealed a more intimate and human side. A man who had lived glory and pressure, who had made difficult decisions and learned to live with fame, but who was also aware of life's limits. His ability to balance success and vulnerability made him a reference not only in sport, but also as a public figure who inspired respect and admiration. In addition, Vialli maintained a close relationship with the Italian national team and with Juventus, where his legacy as a player remained alive. He participated in talks, mentoring sessions, and special events, passing on his knowledge to new generations. His influence was not limited to titles won. It was present in the way of understanding the game, in work ethic, and in the manner of approaching the personal and professional challenges that every young footballer faced. His post-football life also included a deep social and charitable commitment. Vialli participated in initiatives supporting charitable causes, demonstrating that his leadership transcended sport. This stage consolidated his figure as a complete role model, someone whose greatness was measured not only in goals or trophies, but in integrity, positive impact, and cultural legacy. This phase of his life, although quieter than his playing or coaching stage, is essential to understanding the full impact of Gianluca Vialli. He was not only an exceptional athlete or a talented coach, he was a reference of professionalism, ethics, and leadership, capable of influencing players, coaches, and fans for decades. The transition from star on the field to mentor and public figure shows that his greatness was not limited to immediate achievements, but transcends generations. With his move into this post-active stage, Vialli was preparing for the final chapter of his life. His death and the definitive consolidation of his legacy, a story that not only recalls titles and goals, but the way in which a man knew how to balance talent, discipline, passion, and humanity. On January 6, 2023, the football world stopped for a moment. Gianluca Vialli had passed away at the age of 58, a victim of cancer that, despite his brave fight, managed to overcome the resistance of a man who for decades had seemed indestructible both on and off the pitch. The news spread quickly, and tributes immediately began. Clubs, former teammates, coaches, active players, and fans from all over the world remembered the Italian forward who had marked an era and redefined what it meant to be a global sports icon. Vialli did not die like many other great players. It was not an abrupt retirement, nor a silent oblivion. His post-football life, his ethics, his leadership, and his social commitment had turned his figure into a constant reference. The impact of his death was not limited to nostalgia for goals, trophies, or records. It was felt in the hearts of those who admired not only his talent, but his way of living, inspiring, and overcoming adversity. The message was clear. Greatness is not measured solely in victories, but in the positive influence left in every environment. The reaction in Italy was immediate and emotional. The main sports media, as well as football figures, defined him as an example of professionalism, resilience, and humanity. His goals with Sampdoria and Juventus, his performances with the Italian national team, and his European titles not only recalled his brilliance on the field, but also the style and determination with which he approached every challenge. For many, Gianluca Vialli embodied the perfect combination of talent, hard work, and leadership. In England, the shock was equally intense. Chelsea, the club where Vialli had established himself as a coach and where he had won historic titles such as the FA Cup, the League Cup, and the UEFA Cup, organized immediate tributes. Dressing room companions, current players, and executives highlighted his impact not only on results, but on the club's culture. His ability to lead, motivate, and generate trust left an indelible mark. Vialli had been much more than a successful coach. He was a mentor, an example, and a symbol of integrity and dedication. Vialli's legacy extended beyond trophies. His methods, work philosophy, and way of connecting with players became a reference for coaches and football professionals. His tactical intelligence, combined with a human and approachable approach, showed that success does not depend only on technical skill, but on coherence, empathy, and respect for the team. These teachings will remain alive in clubs and national teams, in players who today pass on what they learned to new generations. On a personal level, his life outside football inspired many. During his battle with cancer, Vialli showed admirable inner strength. He shared his experience, supported other patients, and used his visibility to raise awareness about the disease. This final chapter of his life consolidated the image of a man who, even when facing the most extreme adversity, maintained the dignity, generosity, and courage that had always characterized him. The media and social impact of his death also highlighted something fundamental: the power of a legacy that transcends the boundaries of sport. Gianluca Vialli will not be remembered only for goals, titles, or historical records, but for how he lived and taught others to live, for the way he led, inspired, and left an indelible mark on those around him. His figure is an example that true greatness is not measured by fleeting fame, but by lasting impact on culture, ethics, and the history of football. The memory of Vialli also reinforced the international dimension of his influence. From Genoa to London, from Italy to England, his name remains synonymous with excellence, commitment, and passion. The narration of his life became a lesson in leadership, resilience, and professionalism for any generation. His story shows that a player can transcend the pitch and become a symbol of universal values. Finally, The legacy of Gianluca Vialli serves as inspiration for the next generation of footballers, coaches, and fans. Every trophy won, every goal scored, and every decision made with integrity reinforces one message. True greatness is built with talent, discipline, ethics, and passion. His memory will continue to live on in the history of football, in the anecdotes that circulate in dressing rooms, and in the hearts of those who value not only results, but the journey itself. And while football continues to move forward, Vialli's story reminds us that behind every star there is a man with dreams, sacrifices, and teachings that transcend time. His departure makes room for new stories, for other names that will mark eras and leave their marks. But before discovering the next legend, it will always be impossible to forget the strength, talent, and humanity of Gianluca Vialli, a true icon who transformed every field he stepped on and every dressing room he inhabited. In the next story, we will explore another figure who, like Vialli, combined skill, leadership, and charisma, leaving an indelible legacy and teaching us that football is much more than a sport. It is a lesson in life that continues to resonate through time.